a handout, the short version, the Unpack. And so this woman, Peggy McIntosh, she's a white woman. So when she refers to I, she's talking about herself as a white woman, the privileges that she experiences in life. And I know she was trying not to generalize about the whole world here. She's using very specific and concrete experiences about in her own life, like comparing the advantages she has to some of her colleagues who are African American. And so she's basing that on some of these examples. So I was wondering if there are any of the, we've got what, 50? A list of 50 things here, daily effects of white privilege. And I was wondering if there are any of these that you would like to start off with talking about, or any of them that seem confusing, or you're not sure what it means. Well, let's just start with number one then, that's easy. I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. And that could be a whole other discussion, of course, what is race and is there race, and how it is a social construction, but that would take a whole other hour. But the idea that if I'm white, it's easy for me to be in a space with all white people, especially in Portland, right? Second one, I can avoid spending time with people who I was trained to mistrust and who have learned to mistrust my time or me. Are there any jumping out to you yet that you would like to talk about? Moving, now this is a big issue in Portland, right? We're having a housing crisis. If I should need to move, I can be pretty sure of renting or purchasing housing in an area which I can afford and in which I would want to live. So in Portland, we're seeing a lot of folks of color being pushed out Gresham and Hillsborough. Prices are going up and up.
Yeah, this is a huge issue for our students. I mean, a lot of my students have to live beyond 82nd. When I was teaching at Rock Creek, they were far out in Washington County and having to travel to the Rock Creek campus. Yeah, so for me, that my privilege really shows in number 3, because this is true for me. I can be sure of being able to purchase a house in an area I can afford, which I would want to live, but I know that's not true for my students.
Right. I can bike to work. Easy, it's fast. That's a privilege for me. Yeah.
As someone who came into this room late, number 39 really stuck out to me, that my tardiness isn't going to be reflected on my race.
Yes.
And that's very
white
true.
People always late.
I know, and that's very true. I can easily walk into a room and be fine, but it's my race and isn't affected by it.
Right.
Me as an individual.
Right. Right. Yeah. Great one. It's not being. You're not being generalized.
Right.
44 also leapt out at me in terms of the academic courses, not institutions, but academic courses definitely that give attention to only people of my race.
Yes.
Especially when you think about history and how we were taught history in elementary and middle school, high school.
Or literature, the classics.
Yeah.
Mostly
White
men.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, a lot of people are working, and women too. A lot of work is going into changing that.
I think this is highly relevant to where this conversation is happening. It's happening at PCC. It's happening where, given the curricular options we have, we would be given the impression, and we do give the impression, that the contributors by far to whatever quote-unquote progress of our society, we owe it to individuals who are perceived as white and identify as white. Because we dedicate so little to educating about history and the contributions of any other race or ethnic group.
Yes.
Oh, just in relation to number 44, and we mentioned it during our discussion over here, one of the classes that teaches anatomy and physiology, and so the study of the human body, form, and function, so literally how humans are shaped and how they work. And this has been a running theme for anatomy textbooks.
Sure.
Of just, okay, what counts as a model for humanity?
Right.
And if you don't match that example, it's usually classified as literally disease, disorder, or deviation.
Right.
And so they've been acknowledging this with anatomy textbooks, and many of them are moving towards a more diverse representation, but no, this is still the standard. Just, okay, the Caucasian, European, healthy male usually is the standard for what counts as the human form.
Great,
So,
great example.
Yeah, the ones that talk about children, like 16 and 49, stuck out to me because my mom is white and she has 3 mixed race children, and I was just thinking, like, just by having mixed race children and like having been married to a black man, in a lot of ways she like gave up some of the white privilege. So. I mean, obviously she's still advantaged, just in some ways.
Right, and that kind of, sorry, can't see my question, but connects to my question, how can we dismantle white privilege? And so that sort of gets to that. Other ones you want to talk about? This one, I can talk with my mouth full and not have people put this down in my color. So people not making assumptions about all white people must be that way. Yeah.
Number 25 is pretty significant.
If a traffic cop pulls me over, or the IRS audits my tax return, I can be sure I haven't been singled out because of my race.
And that's so multi.
Yeah.
And I think about it so often before I go get coffee in the morning. There are always policemen sitting outside the door. And I thought about how I can walk right by them and not think too much of it.
Right.
Whereas perhaps if I looked differently, I might not even go.
You might not even be comfortable, yeah.
Right, 'cause it's scary to even.
Great.
Definitely, if being pulled over, I would think, oh no, I have to pay money for a ticket, but I wouldn't be fearing for my life. Wouldn't cross my mind.
That's sort of a silly example. When I was in Mexico, my daughter and I could walk into a hotel and just go swimming. We weren't staying there, but nobody questioned. They just looked at the color of my skin and, oh yeah, you must belong here. Right? And so, you know, I used that to think, well,
Number 38 also jumped out at me. I can think over many options, social, political, imaginative, or professional, without asking whether a person of my race would be accepted or allowed to do what I want to do. As children, we're told, you can be anything you want to be, anything.
yes.
And school counselors never tell us that we can't go to college or we can't consider a certain career, but yet that happens to our students of color.
All the time, yeah. And another thing I wrote up here, the myth of meritocracy. Meritocracy in the United States, we have this idea of meritocracy. So by your merit, you can achieve anything. If you haven't gotten your dream job, your dream house, your dream car, you haven't worked hard enough.
Yeah.
It's your fault. You have to just work harder, right? So it's a myth in
It's
this
very
country.
circular.
Right,
If you want to achieve, work harder. If you
Right.
haven't achieved, it's because you haven't worked harder yet.
right. Around and around
It's
and
very
around.
circular, it really lacks logic.
I got caught in 24 just last week. I can be pretty sure that if I asked to talk to the quote person in charge, unquote, I will be facing a person of my race. I was in line at a Safeway customer service, and the woman in front of me was being very abusive and loud and laying into the clerk, who happened to be an Asian woman. And I finally went up to her and I said, "You need to call your manager." She said, "I am the manager."
Oh,
And I said, "You don't deserve to be treated like this." But I made an assumption.
Uh-huh.
I walked right into that one.
any others? Great, well, I want to make sure to give you time to fill out your evaluation. Just got a few minutes left. So thank you, everybody. I hope that this was useful and that you got something out of this. And I have tons of copies of both handouts if you'd like to take some to your class, with your friends. And I'd be happy to continue the discussion. I'll put my email on the board. And my phone number. And thank you, everybody, for